All right, joining me right now to talk more about the fallout and the impact of these tense meetings between President Trump and Ukrainian President Zelensky is Michael Bociurkiw. He is a global affairs analyst and a former spokesperson for the Organization for Security and Cooperation in Europe. Michael, great to see you. So, as Nick just reported, I mean, the meeting at 10 Downing between Zelensky and Starmer was a stark difference, from the one that we saw in the Oval Office yesterday. Zelensky received a hero's welcome, if you will, from the Prime Minister, Starmer, with a hug and a handshake. Your reaction?
Well, my goodness, what a change from a few days. It was not long ago that Mr. Starmer was in the Oval Office as well, buttering up Mr. Trump with the invitation from the King, but buttering him up so much as Mr. Trump's cholesterol levels must have gone through the roof. But I think if Mr. Trump is indeed on the golf course right now, he must be seething, or he will be seething when he finds out that Mr. Zelensky got an invitation to be with the King tomorrow, because Mr. Zelensky with the King tomorrow, because this is now his third or fourth time meeting the King. And by the way, the King Charles has a very, very soft spot for Ukraine. And I'm now thinking maybe he could somehow play a background role to bring the two sides together after such a huge rupture from yesterday.
Oh, that's interesting. And so this pronouncement, too, that the UK is now going to speed up its $2.8 billion loan to Ukraine. And I would think that Trump's ears are going to peak up again about the whole loan idea, because Keir Starmer made it very clear that aid prior that Trump tried to make reference to was actually a gift. Remember, in the Oval Office, I mean, Starmer said, well, wait a minute, let me correct you here. It was actually a gift. So how do you suppose this, too, will play into the equation?
Well, yeah, as you pointed out, it is a loan. And I got to tell you, Fredricka, Ukraine is on its knees right now in terms of finances, $5 billion a month deficit. And now it's gone back to municipalities like Lviv in Western Ukraine to ask them for more money. But, this kind of aid can't come fast enough. And I'll tell you why. Just before I came on air with you, there was a Russian ballistic missile that struck not far from where I'm sitting right now to the port of Odessa. And it struck a foreign flagged container ship that the Ukrainians were just getting their container port back in action since the start of the war. This is a huge blow of confidence to foreign vessel owners, insurance companies. And, Mr. Trump's big idea of sending American workers here to dig up minerals, will they come here if there's a threat of Russian missiles or drones hitting them?
And then, Zelensky said that he thinks that this relationship between Ukraine and the U.S. can be repaired. He says, he doesn't think it's a done deal. As it pertains to that mineral deal, do you think that not only is the relationship between Trump and Zelensky, can it be mended, but can this mineral deal offer be resurrected? And is it ultimately beneficial to Ukraine?
No, I think that thing could be dead, that mineral deal. It wasn't very well liked, by the way, here in Ukraine, because a lot of people here thought we're giving way, way too much away with no security guarantees. And you know what, Fredricka, I have a sneaky suspicion that this meeting, this blow up, this meltdown, whatever you want to call it, might have been set up to deliberately sabotage that deal, because I think the Trump side saw that it was getting diluted.
I mean, we heard from former National Security Advisor Susan Rice, who also said on CNN yesterday that she thought this was a setup. So tell me more about why you think so, too.
Yeah, it reeked of a setup, because I think the way they just pounced on Mr. Zelensky, right from the time Mr. Zelensky, got out of his car, Trump was kind of ridiculing him. And then I think what happened in the days preceding this is the agreement actually got diluted quite a bit, to the point where maybe Mr. Trump said, I won't be able to go back to my base and say I've got the best deal in the world. So that's something that might have played into their hesitation to see this deal. And then, I mean, just the rudeness of, basically turfing Mr. Zelensky and his team out of the White House did not go over well in Ukraine. A lot of people here, by the way, will see Mr. Zelensky as a hero, the way he stood up to Mr. Trump, but there have been comments made that maybe he should have maybe dressed up a little bit differently, because we noticed also his chief of staff, who's his shadow basically, was in a suit, and Mr. Zelensky probably made a decision at the last minute to go in his kind of trademark Ukrainian olive green or black kind of uniform.
Yeah, he has since said that if once the war is over, he will wear a suit or costume, as he puts it.
Right. Yeah, they call it a costume here. But just quickly, I think that, there was a big fear here in Ukraine and by a lot of observers that Mr. Putin, who we haven't mentioned yet, but he may see this void as an opportunity to go further in Ukraine, maybe Mykolaiv, maybe Odessa, because right now, as we said, Fredricka, there's no solid red lines enforced by the United States. So just quickly, what he could do, what the Americans could do to make it easier for Mr. Putin is switch off the Starlink service. They could stop giving intelligence info to the Ukrainians, and very crucially, disable the Patriot missile defense system. That would leave Ukraine very exposed. We'll see what happens.
Big fears for Ukraine, indeed. All right. Michael Bociurkiw, always great to see you. Thank you so much. Continue to be safe there.
Thank you.